There are many words to describe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. Silly, ridiculous, idiotic, moronic. But the most apt word is embarrassing. In fact, the Green New Deal is so embarrassing that even Ocasio-Cortez's own financial advisor tried to say that some of the ideas in the Green New Deal were fabrications on air with Tucker Carlson.
Professor, thanks very much for coming on. So
Thanks,
can I just ask the obvious question? Why would we ever pay people who are, quote, unwilling to work?
We never would, right? And AOC has never said anything like that, right? I think you're referring to some sort of document that some doctored document that somebody other than us has been circulating.
Oh, I thought that came right from her. That was in the background or from her office, is my understanding.
No. She's actually tweeted it out to laugh at it. If you look at her latest tweets, it seems that apparently some Republicans have put it out there. I don't know the details.
Well, good. Well, then...
No, the Green New Deal does say that. Right here, in the Green New Deal FAQ. With AOC and those around her denying what is clearly in the Green New Deal to save some face on television, many people are understandably confused about its actual contents. Well, don't worry your pretty little heads. I read AOC's entire cringe-inducing New Deal so that you don't have to.
What? What the f***?
The first and major problem with the New Deal is that it's communism. It's basically communist propaganda. You can call it whatever you want, socialism, whatever. But the reality is that it's filled to the brim with communist rhetoric. Ocasio-Cortez is calling for a monstrous public jobs program. She wants to produce over 20 million living wage jobs, with the government being the employer of last resort. Oh yeah, put more power in the government's hands. That's a great idea. All governments are, for the most part, incompetent, and everyone knows it. That's one of the many reasons Trump was elected. America was tired of incompetent politicians and their incompetent programs like Obamacare. It's a fact that when companies have to compete in the marketplace, they strive to lower prices and provide better and more convenient services. The only exception to this rule is the IRS, which is only as efficient as it is because it involves the government stealing your money. Speaking of the IRS, you may be wondering, where is the government going to get the money to pay for these jobs? Well, you guessed it, taxes. Specifically, taxing the rich. Why do socialists believe rich people are simply greedy money-printing machines? The rich are already taxed out the ass in the United States. Stealing more of rich people's money isn't going to fix America's problems, Alexandria. It will only push them away and encourage them to outsource their businesses. US tax regulations already cripple small businesses and corporations. If the Green New Deal were to be enacted, any corporations who remain in the United States would be doing so for charity. And not even meaningful charity, because the programs in the New Deal will crash and burn due to government failures and incompetence. I know it, and you know it. When you put any kind of power or responsibility into the hands of the government, all you end up getting is a dysfunctional, overregulated mess like the Affordable Care Act. The US government can barely keep businesses in the country as it is, without having the responsibility of making the businesses profitable. Imagine putting the government in charge of supplying every American a job. This would essentially turn the country into one giant unemployment office. And we all know how successful unemployment offices are, right? And that's just the tip of the communist iceberg in this deal. Let's not forget the part where she proposes the US government provides monetary support to those unwilling to work. You heard me right. Unwilling to work. People who are unwilling to work, that would be about 90% of the population. In America, people don't tend to base their lives around their work. Work is, of course, a factor in our lives, and we often take pride in the quality of our work, but family is more important than anything. Work is simply what we must do in order to afford what we want to do. Spend time with our families, pursue our hobbies, and so on. We don't live to work, we work to live. If the necessity to work were to be taken away, nothing would get done. Plain and simple. Now you're probably asking yourself, who's going to pay for this new utopian welfare state? Are Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos going to pay for all those people too? And you'd be right! The Green New Deal calls for the rich to contribute to such a plan on top of taxing anyone who uses fossil fuels. I would show you the exact math involved in paying for such an ambitious and potentially catastrophic endeavor, but AOC and her posse simply haven't given any details about the math at all. Seriously, they don't even know where this money is going to come from, which is unsurprising when you consider how economically illiterate AOC is.
That was really your rallying cry in your campaign. It was always about working class Americans. You talk about the top versus the bottom, not the left versus the right.
Right.
Now, the economy is going pretty strong, right? There's roughly 4% unemployment, 3.9% unemployment. Do you think that capitalism has failed to deliver for working class Americans, or is no longer the best vehicle for working class Americans?
Well, I think the numbers that you just talked about is part of the problem, right? Because we look at these figures and we say, oh, unemployment is low, everything is fine, right? Well, unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids.
But guys, we need this new Green Deal, because if we don't embrace its communistic, politically correct rhetoric, the world is going to end! Oh hell no! At least that's what one would think reading AOC's New Deal, which is another one of its biggest flaws. Fear-mongering. This deal's fear-mongering tactics are just shameless. Just listen to this. Our nation and our world face a perfect storm of economic and environmental crisis that threaten not only the global economy, but life on Earth as we know it. The dire, existential threats to climate change, wars for oil, and a stagnating, crisis-ridden economic system require bold and visionary solutions if we are to leave a livable world to the next generation and beyond. AKA, everything is awful, and life as we know it is ending. Only AOC's Green New Deal can save us from certain doom! Doom! Give me a break. I know fear is a strong motivator, but could you be any more dramatic? I hate to break it to you, AOC, but the US economy isn't crisis-ridden or stagnating thanks to you-know-who. And how many times have scientists been wrong about climate change? Oh yeah, that brings me to my next point. Climate change hysteria! Okay, now I know everyone and they mama were expecting to see some climate change buzz talk in the Green Party's New Deal proposal. And oh boy, did they deliver. Scientists report that sea levels are rising much faster than predicted and could overwhelm coastal areas within decades. New York, Baltimore, Miami, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and more. Some scientists say the data shows that sea levels may rise by 9 feet within the next 50 to 150 years. Where have we heard this before?
Some of the models suggest to Dr. Maslowski that there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Whatever happened to the polar ice caps melting by 2014? Here we are in 2019. Los Angeles and the Netherlands are still above water. Just like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Al Gore's only defense is lying on television, where he told a professional crab fisher that his island is disappearing, even after hearing him say it isn't. I'm beginning to see a pattern. Most of these famous environmental activists turn out to be liars, just like AOC. Which brings me to my next point. This New Deal is full of lies. I have prepared a handy-dandy list of all of AOC's lies in the Green New Deal. Lie number 1. Carbon taxes work. Just ask Emmanuel Macron how that is going in Paris. Carbon taxes don't reduce fossil fuel use. They simply leave less money in the pockets of the middle and lower classes and cause civil unrest as a result. It looks something like this. Lie number 2. Bernie Sanders is an authority on economics. Bernie Sanders suffers from many of the same problems as Alexandria. The difference between her and Bernie is that Bernie is a decent bullshitter. Until you look into many of his ideas in depth, they sound viable and nice. But doing even a bit of research reveals Bernie's false song of a utopian welfare state where everyone gets free stuff. And Bernie's name appears quite a few times in this proposal. She even cites Bernie's official website as a source. In fact, most of the sources for this proposal are biased, unreliable, and sometimes just plain obscure. Like this old opinion piece from truthdig.com, or this opinion piece from Wired. The list of phony baloney sources in this deal goes on and on. So for the sake of brevity, I'm going to include a link to the new deal in the description, so you can see this bullshit for yourself. Lie number 3. The US can afford this plan. False. This plan would lead to economic catastrophe, and anyone with half a brain knows it. When asked to explain their plan's finances, AOC and her comrades can't produce a sound budget. And the math in the Green New Deal sounds like a 12-year-old school project. They really don't account for the plethora of variables that would affect such a budget. It's almost as if they can't produce a financially sensible budget because this plan is trash. Yeah, it is. I would go on, but this video would most likely exceed 2 hours. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating, probably 2 hours. Just about everything in this deal is puffery bordering on idiocy. It uses communism as its foundation, so it should be no surprise that it's so flawed. Remember kids, just say no to communism. Okay, that's all I can stand of this new deal. If you want to torture yourself, the link to the deal will be in the description of this video. Till next time, I'm Ed All.